So what I'm seeing now, as I look at the end of Canto 5, the Godheads of the little life, all those mischievous beings who are tricking and teasing us. Nevertheless, Sri Aurobindo tells us that, he tells us on page 167, that what Aswapati was seeing there in that dark netherworld, he says it's only a provisional scheme. It's not the way things really are. No? It's just a false appearance sketched by our senses. No? And in the rest of that following section, he tells us that all this is a preparation for another state, something much more wonderful. So, page 171 onwards, there's this one of Sri Aurobindo's wonderful prophecies about how our present state will be changed. It's as if reversing a deformation spell, as if we've been under a bad spell cast by a wicked fairy, no? But it will change. We will be released from the black magic of the night. And we shall learn at last who lived within unseen. And we shall kneel adoring the enthroned child Godhead, trembling with beauty and delight and love. But before that can happen, we have to achieve the Spirit's ascent. At the moment, the Spirit, as we're reading about, or Aswapati is exploring lower levels of existence. Spirit is there, but it's identified with all these lower levels. And this must change. And then we shall shed the discredit of our mortal state, this state which is subject to death and ignorance. And then with our existence, we shall be like a kind of bridge. We will make the abysm, that deep hole, a road for heaven's descent. The very highest truths will come down into the depths, and we will acquaint our depths with the supernal ray, the highest ray from above, and cleave, we'll cut through the darkness with the mystic fire. It's one of these very inspiring passages, prophetic passages in the poem. And then we read this short transitional section on page 172, how Aswapati left that realm of the little life and the Godheads of the little life, and he traveled through these intermediate spaces, the natal mists. And that's a very unpleasant passage. He has to pass through a hostile mass of dead and staring eyes. And all around him is this glimmering darkness, peopled with shadowy and misleading shapes. He's passing through the vague, inconscious, dark, and measureless cave. His only sunlight was his spirit's flame, the aspiration and will of his Spirit. That's the only light that can allow him to pass through that shadowy, threatening realm. And then this first section of Canto 6, which leads us into a new realm, the kingdoms and godheads of the greater life. First he has to, it's as if he's emerging from a dark tunnel. And it's a very strange realm of things that come into existence and go out of existence. At the break on page 175, we read that nothing was solid, nothing felt complete. All was unsafe, miraculous, and half true. It seemed a realm of lives that had no base. But then if we read on from there, from the break at page 175, we see that there's some progression, not a realm that's not quite so dark. Then dawned a greater seeking, broadened sky, a journey under wings of brooding force. First came the kingdom of the morning star. A twilight beauty trembled under its spear, and the throb of promise of a wider life. Then slowly rose a great and doubting sun, and in its light she made of itself a world. A spirit was there that sought for its own deep self, yet was content with fragments pushed in front and parts of living that belied the whole, but pieced together might one day be true. Yet something seemed to be achieved at last. A growing volume of the will to be, a text of living and a graph of force, a script of acts, a song of conscious forms burdened with meanings fugitive from thought's grasp and crowded with undertones of life's rhythmic cry, could write itself on the hearts of living things. In an outbreak of the might of secret spirit, in life and matter's answer of delight, some face of deathless beauty could be caught that gave immortality to a moment's joy. Some word that could incarnate highest truth leaped out from a chance tension of the soul. Some hue of the absolute could fall on life. Some glory of knowledge and intuitive sight, some passion of the rapturous heart of love. A hierophant of the bodiless secrecy interned in an unseen spiritual sheath. The will that pushes sense beyond its scope to feel the light and joy intangible, half found its way into the ineffable's peace, half captured a sealed sweetness of desire that yearned from a bosom of mysterious bliss, half manifested, veiled reality. A soul not wrapped into its cloak of mind could glimpse the true sense of a world of forms, illumined by a vision in the thought, upbuoyed by the heart's understanding flame. It could hold in the conscious ether of the spirit the divinity of a symbol universe. So if we look carefully, it's very interesting to see how step by step Sri Aurobindo outlines a very detailed map of this journey. But it's difficult for us to follow. We can see that, here's a new stage and a new stage and a new stage. But to really grasp and understand what King Aswapati is experiencing, it's not so easy for us. So, but anyway, he has passed through this transition from the lower levels of the little life. Somehow there's been a transition to the beginnings of a greater life. The dawn on page 175 at the break. There's a dawn of a greater seeking, a broader sky, and a journey under wings of brooding force. So there's some protective power which is protecting this realm and will enable it to give birth to new things. So Dana, now you can start at the break.
Then dawned a greater seeking, broadened the sky, a journey under wings of brooding force. First came the kingdom of the morning star, their twilight beauty trembled under its spear, and the throb of promise of a wider light.
It's just the beginning of a dawn, no? The dawn of a greater seeking than that was possible in that realm of the little life, a broader sky. And Aswapati's journey is under these wings of brooding force, creative force with a capital F. So the first stage of this new step is the kingdom of the morning star. The morning star is that star that we see just above the horizon before the dawn comes. I think it's normally the planet Mercury, but sometimes the morning star is Venus, just as Venus can be the last star in the evening sky, it can be the first star in the morning sky. And that morning star has a special significance, this promise of something new. And Sri Aurobindo uses this imagery, which we find elsewhere in English poetry, of the star, because it has these kind of sparkles, the way we see it, that it has these points. We can think of those as the star's weapons. So here he says it's a spear, The morning star has a spear. And that spear is guarding and protecting that realm of twilight beauty, which has a promise of a wider life. That's just one of these short transitional passages. Kamala.
Then slowly rose a great and doubting sun, and in its light she made observe a word. The spirit was there, but sight, for its own deep self. It was concerned with fragments, pushed and fried, and parts of living that will leave the whole. But, pieced together, might one day be true.
Mother reads these lines. No? It's so beautiful to hear her reading this promise. So after that twilight beauty of the morning star, slowly there rises this sun, a great sun, but it's still a doubting sun. It's not totally sure of itself. No? But in the light of that great and doubting sun, she, life, the life goddess, the life force, in its light, she made of self a world. It's a new level of conscious self. So in that world, a spirit was there that is looking for its own deep self. But at first, it's content with fragments, just little bits, which get pushed to the forefront. Parts of living that belied the whole, contradicted the whole. But if they were pieced together in the right order, like a jigsaw puzzle, might one day be true.
The subject is life.
Here it is life, she, yes. Yeah, we are in the worlds of life at the moment. No? Since Canto 3, we've been exploring different levels of the worlds of life. And it will continue. This is Canto 6, then we've got 7, 8 and 9. 3 more cantos after this one. So that means Sri Aurobindo from Canto 3 to Canto 9, this is his description of different aspects of the life worlds. Antim, would you read?
Yet something seemed to be achieved at last. A growing volume of the will to be, a text of living and a draft of force, a script of acts, a song of conscious forms, burdened with meanings, fugitive from thought's grasp, and clouded with undertones of life's rhythmic cry, could write itself on the hearts of living things.
So this is a new development. Some new step has started, has been achieved at last. And this brings about this growing volume of the will to be. We can think of turning the volume up on the player, or we can think of an amount of things, no? Greater volume. But what there's a greater volume of is life's will to be. It was so doubtful before, no? We were in a realm of lives that seemed to have no base. Now there's something that really seems to want to live and to be developing formulas that make living possible. a text, like the text of a play, and a graph of force, a diagram that shows what the different forces are, a script of acts, as if the beings of those worlds are the actors, but now they have a drama to act out, and even a song of conscious forms, maybe like birds in the early morning, you know. It's so nice in the early morning. One by one the birds wake up, they sing their song, you know? A song of conscious forms, and that song is burdened with meanings, but our thought can't catch the meanings. There are meanings there in those songs, but they are fugitive, they run away from the grasp of thought. But they're also crowded with undertones of life's rhythmic cry. There are singers in Auroville who can do this special undertone singing and overtone singing. It's really remarkable, quite different from what we normally hear. No? So undertones, they're not so prominent, but they give so much depth to the meaning. So all these things together, this growing volume of the will to be, this text of living, this graph of force, this script of acts, this song of conscious forms, all together they could write itself. This is the song, no? Could write itself on the hearts of living things. So that brings another new development. Alice, would you read? Line 97, 98.
In an outbreak of the might of secret spirit, in life, matter's answer of delight, some face of deathless beauty could be caught that gave immortality to a moment's joy. Some word that could incarnate highest truth, leaped out from chance tension of the soul. Some hue of the absolute could fall on life. Some glory of knowledge and intuitive sight. Some passion of rapturous heart and love.
So this is new and greater developments in the possibilities of life. There's an outbreak of the might, the power of secret spirit. And in response to that outbreak, there's a response from life and matter. And this means that in this realm, some face of deathless beauty could be caught. Some appearance, that face of deathless beauty that gave immortality to a moment's joy. Perhaps we have some such unforgettable moments in our life, very special experiences. Some face of deathless beauty, and then some word could be expressed in some creative word that could incarnate, give a body to higher truth. These things are leaping out from an apparently chance tension of the soul. Some hue, some color, some shade of the absolute could fall on life. Some glory of knowledge and intuitive sight, some beginning of real knowing, and some intense feeling, some passion of the rapturous heart of love. Philomena.
Of the bodiless secrecy, interned in an unseen spiritual state, the will that pushes sense beyond its scope, to feel the light and joy intensely, or found its way into the ineffable peace, or captured a safe sweetness of desire, that yawned from a bosom of mysterious bliss, of manifest veiled reality.
Yes. A hierophant, it's a worshipper, a priest, but also a worshipper. So there's some being that worships the bodiless secrecy. That bodiless secrecy which is interned, as if imprisoned within, in an unseen spiritual sheath. Who is this priest, this worshipper? It's a will. The will that pushes sense beyond its scope to feel the light and joy intangible. Our senses are very important tools for us, no? But if there's an inner will of the spirit to go beyond just the sense, beyond the physical experience, to what is behind, no? Pushes sense beyond its usual scope to feel a light and a joy that can't be detected by the senses. So this will half found its way into the peace of the ineffable, the divine in his inexpressible state. Half captured, a sealed up secret sweetness of desire, a kind of divine desire that's yearning from a bosom of mysterious bliss. Half manifested, veiled reality. Something is beginning to emerge under these wings of brooding force. Bhavana.
A soul not wrapped into its coat of mind could glimpse the true sense of a world of forms, illuminated by a vision in the thought, upbuoyed by the heart's understanding flame. It could hold in the conscious leader of the spirit the divinity of a single universe.
So a soul that's not completely wrapped up in its cloak, its dark covering of mind, in that realm could get a glimpse of the true sense, the true meaning and significance of a world of forms. Whether of physical forms like those we see, or the subtle forms. That soul illumined by a vision in the thought, buoyed, lifted up and supported by the understanding flame of the heart, could hold in the conscious ether of the spirit the divinity of a symbol universe. I think this symbol universe must be the realm of the greater life. It seems to be brought into existence by this vision of this will, this soul. And now he's going to tell us more about this symbol universe that Asvapati has become aware of. Sudarshan.
This realm inspires us with our master hooks. Its courses are made landed on our road. Its signs portrays the pattern in our life. It lends a foreign moment to our faith. Its errant ways motive our life I serve. All that we seek for is prefigured there. Lord, we have not known nor ever sought. It one day will be born in your heart. That the timeless will fulfill itself in peace.
Yes. So this realm, this symbol universe of the greater life, that's where all our vaster hopes come from. The fact that we can even conceive of the possibility of a divine life in the material world, it comes from there. And the forces of that greater life have made landings on our globe. We have intuitions, or there are legends and ideas of beings from other planets coming and making landings here on Earth. These are maybe just hints of the way in which the influences from other planes of existence affect us here. So signs of that realm have traced their patterns in our lives. The influence of that realm lends a sovereign movement to our fate. We're not doubtful and hesitant anymore. There's that strong, vital push from the life worlds, from the higher life worlds. And if there are just a few waves coming, wandering from that world, they lift up our life into a great high surge. Everything that we are seeking for, all the things we dream of, is prefigured in that world. It already exists there in some form. Everything that we seek for, and everything that we haven't known about, haven't dreamed about, and we've never sought for, all those things which must one day be born in our human hearts, so that the timeless may fulfill itself in things. There's so much more to be manifested in this universe of ours. Devin.
Incarnate in the mystery of the days, eternal in an unclosed infinite, a mounting endless possibility climbs high upon a topless ladder of dreams, forever in the being's conscious trance. All on that ladder mounts to an unseen end. An energy of perpetual transience makes the journey from which no return is sure, the pilgrimage of nature to the unknown.
Thank you. So the subject of this sentence is this energy. This energy is incarnate. It takes a body in the mystery of the days, in the passage of time. It's eternal in an unclosed infinite, a state that there's no boundaries to. So there's this mounting, endless possibility, step by step, up this topless ladder of dreams. It's going higher and higher and higher in the being's conscious trance. It reminds me of Sri Aurobindo saying that maybe we have a goal, we think of the supermind, but it may not have any meaning to assign a goal to this journey that we are on. There may never be an end, an endless journey up this topless ladder of dream. The being, there's no limits to the dreams of the being. Everything on that ladder of conscious trance is mounting, going on, climbing up to an end which can't be foreseen. An energy of perpetual transience. That energy is always changing forms and taking on new aspects. And it's on a perpetual pilgrimage, the journey from which no return is sure. It's not that you're going to reach the temple on the hill and then you go back home. And this is a journey of exploration for which no return is sure. This is the pilgrimage of nature, the great creative force of the divine conscious force. Nature to the unknown, exploring ever new possibilities. Well, Aswapati is climbing a kind of ladder, isn't he? This stair. So, but it says this ladder, each of these levels or rungs, it's formed from the dreams of the spirit. So there's no end to those dreams. So that ladder is topless. Forever going higher and higher in the conscious trance of the being.
Then is it not real? Then it is not a real one.
The dreams of the divine, the dreams of the being, the dreams of the spirit, maybe they seem unreal to us, but they are going to give rise to realities on these various levels of existence. I think Mother wrote to Huta like that. She said, you say that Auroville is a dream, but it's a dream of the Lord, and the Lord's dreams have the habit of coming true. Something like that. It's what he's suggesting.
But the first part looks like a description of the occult world.
Of the?
Occult worlds.
This is a description of the inner worlds. Yeah. So what is happening in the inner worlds, he says, is prefiguring what will happen in the realm of time and space, no, eventually. Alexander.
As if in her ascent to her lost source, she hoped to unroll all that could ever be. Her high procession moves from stage to stage, a progress leap from sight to greater sight, a process march from form to ampler form, a caravan of the inexhaustible formations of a boundless thought and force.
Yes. So what is happening is that this great creative goddess, the life goddess, she's returning back to her lost source. When we launched into Canto 3 and this let me find the place. He's describing the goddess of life, no? And one of the things that happens, aspiring to heaven, I'm reading on page 118, just before the break. Aspiring to heaven, she turns her steps towards hell. Chance she has chosen, and danger for playfellows. Fate's dreadful swing she has taken for cradle and seat. Yet, pure and bright from the timeless was her birth. A lost world rapture lingers in her eyes. Her moods are faces of the infinite. Beauty and happiness are her native right, and endless bliss is her eternal home. So life is always wanting to return to that. That's what he's referring to here on the top line of page 177. Her ascent to her lost source. And on the way, she wants to unroll all that could ever be, all possibilities. And it's as if she's moving with all these possibilities. Her high procession moves from stage to stage. A progress leap from sight, something is seen, understood, realized, and leaps to greater sight. A process march from form to ampler form, a more complex and complete form. So all these achievements of the life goddess, it forms, he says, a caravan of the inexhaustible formations of a boundless thought and force. There's no limit to her thought and her force. Leila.
Her timeless power that lay once on the lap of the beginningless and endless calm, now severed from the spirit's immortal bliss, erects the tide of all the joys she has lost, compelling transient substance into shape, she hopes, by the creative act's release, to overlap sometimes the gulf she cannot fill, to heal a while the wound of severance, escape from the moment's prison of littleness, and meet the eternal's wide sublimities in the uncertain time-filled portion here.
Yes. So this is what is driving that life force. She's a timeless power, and she used to lie in the lap of the beginningless and endless calm of the Lord. But he has woken her up. We read about that in Book 1, Canto 4. To start this work of creation. So now she's cut off from the Spirit's immortal bliss. But still, she keeps trying to copy all the different things she has lost, all the joys she has lost. Sometimes I think it's a bit like that in Auroville. People have come here from all over the world. They came chasing a dream. But in order to chase this dream, they've had to give up all kinds of things that they used to treasure and enjoy. And then they try to recreate them here. So it's something like that. She's erecting the type of all the joys she has lost. And in the process, this creative life force is compelling transient substance into shape, into forms. She hopes by the release this creative act gives, that somehow she can overleap that gulf between where she is and that wonderful source she has lost. She can't fill that gulf, but perhaps she can, through some act of creative force, overleap that huge gap and to heal this painful wound of separation. Severance, it means separation. Perhaps through her creativity, she can escape from the moment's prison of littleness and meet the eternal's wide sublimities, even here in this uncertain time field which has been apportioned to her for now. It seems like wishful thinking, no? But he goes on, he says, almost she nears, she almost achieves what never can be attained. She almost does it. She has this great gift. She manages to shut eternity into an hour. People have an experience of eternity in the hours. Sri Aurobindo's written a poem about it. She can fill a little soul with the infinite. The immobile, the ever unmoving, leans down to the magic of her call, her aspiration, her plea. She stands on a shore in the illimitable, perceives the formless dweller in all forms, and feels around her infinity's embrace. I feel like reading the next lines that we'll look at next week. Her task no ending knows. She serves no aim, but labours driven by a nameless will that came from some unknowable, formless vast. This is her secret and impossible task, to catch the boundless in a net of birth, to cast the spirit into physical form, to lend speech and thought to the ineffable. She is pushed to reveal the ever unmanifest. Yet, by her skill, the impossible has been done. She follows her sublime, irrational plan, invents devices of her magic art to find new bodies for the infinite and images of the unimaginable. She has lured the eternal into the arms of time. So much spiritual effort has been turned away from life. But Sri Aurobindo won't let us do that. He goes on honouring life with all its imperfections. Still, it is such a great power. He won't let us turn away from it. Then dawned a greater seeking, broadened sky, a journey under wings of brooding force. First came the kingdom of the morning star. A twilight beauty trembled under its spear, and the throb of promise of a wider life. Then slowly rose a great and doubting sun, and in its light she made of self a world. A spirit was there that sought for its own deep self, yet was content with fragments pushed in front, and parts of living that belied the whole, but, pieced together, might one day be true. Yet something seemed to be achieved at last. A growing volume of the will to be, a text of living and a graph of force, a script of acts, a song of conscious forms, burdened with meanings, fugitive from thought's grasp, and crowded with undertones of life's rhythmic cry, could write itself on the hearts of living things. In an outbreak of the might of secret spirit, in life and matter's answer of delight, some face of deathless beauty could be caught that gave immortality to a moment's joy. Some word that could incarnate highest truth leaped out from a chance tension of the soul. Some hue of the Absolute could fall on life, some glory of knowledge and intuitive sight, some passion of the rapturous heart of love. A hierophant of the bodiless secrecy interned in an unseen spiritual sheath. The will that pushes sense beyond its scope to feel the light and joy intangible, half found its way into the ineffable's peace, half captured a sealed sweetness of desire that yearned from a bosom of mysterious bliss, half manifested, veiled reality. A soul not wrapped into its cloak of mind could glimpse the true sense of a world of forms. Illumined by a vision in the thought, upbuoyed by the heart's understanding flame, it could hold in the conscious ether of the spirit the divinity of a symbol universe. This realm inspires us with our vaster hopes. Its forces have made landings on our globe. Its signs have traced their pattern in our lives. It lends a sovereign movement to our fate. Its errant waves motive our life's high surge. All that we seek for is prefigured there, and all we have not known nor ever sought, which yet one day must be born in human hearts, that the timeless may fulfill itself in things. Incarnate in the mystery of the days, eternal in an unclosed infinite, a mounting endless possibility climbs high upon a topless ladder of dream, forever in the being's conscious trance. All on that ladder mounts to an unseen end. An energy of perpetual transience makes the journey from which no return is sure, the pilgrimage of nature to the unknown. As if in her ascent to her lost source she hoped to unroll all that could ever be, her high procession moves from stage to stage, a progress leap from sight to greater sight, a process march from form to ampler form, a caravan of the inexhaustible formations of a boundless thought and force. Her timeless power that lay once on the lap of a beginningless and endless calm, now severed from the spirit's immortal bliss, erects the type of all the joys she has lost. Compelling transient substance into shape, she hopes by the creative act's release to o'erleap sometimes the gulf she cannot fill, to heal awhile the wound of severance, escape from the moment's prison of littleness, and meet the eternal's wide sublimities in the uncertain time field portioned here. Almost she nears what never can be attained. She shuts eternity into an hour and fills a little soul with the infinite. The immobile leans to the magic of her call. She stands on a shore in the illimitable, perceives the formless dweller in all forms, and feels around her infinity's embrace. Her task no ending knows. She serves no aim, but labors driven by a nameless will that came from some unknowable, formless vast. This is her secret and impossible task, to catch the boundless in a net of birth, to cast the spirit into physical form, to lend speech and thought to the ineffable. She is pushed to reveal the ever unmanifest. Yet by her skill the impossible has been done. She follows her sublime, irrational plan, invents devices of her magic art, to find new bodies for the infinite and images of the unimaginable. She has lured the eternal into the arms of time.